Okay, this series of tutorials we're going to do the modelling associated with a small retail space project and then continue on for construction documentation. To start off with, using ArchiCAD 20, we're going to create a new project just so that we're all doing exactly the same thing. We'll use the standard Australian ArchiCAD 20 template file. And we'll just use the default profile for the work environment. So we'll create a new file. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is bring in an image file. I think it might be a PNG file, which is an image of some site information, a site plan taken from the local town plan mapping system. So it'll be what we'll use to develop our site on top of. So an image will be good to start tracing over. So the image tool over in the, or it's actually the figure tool over in the tool palette here. So we'll click on the figure tool, and you'll have to click up the top into the settings dialog box for the figure tool. And this is the dialog box that pops up, and you'll have to go and open up the file that we're chasing. Now the file that I want you to put in is the file that we've called contours. It's the site information with some contour information on it as well. So we'll just open up that file, and the main thing that might be handy to do with this dialog box is to make it transparent so that we can see through that image file into other items on the screen if we need to. Probably just making sure everything's keep proportions would be obvious. We want to make sure that's the case, but the only other thing would be the transparent. If we then just click OK, and then we can place that image on the screen, we've got a copy of this image coming up. So I'll just switch back to the arrow tool now so that I can select things, and if I wanted to I can click and drag that more into the center for the moment. So that's an image of some site information taken from the local town plan of the site that we'll be working on. We've got a major road and another couple of crossroads, and the site sits in that block in between there from one street to the other, with the street frontage down towards the bottom of the page, which at the moment this information being taken from the town plan map. The edges of this image will be pointing north-south. Okay, so the first thing that I might want to do is rotate that image that will suit our project. Now the building is going to sit squarely along this street frontage line down here. So that's the line of the property boundary, noticing that this other one up here is parallel as well. So the building will roughly sit rectangular shaped parallel to these lines here. So if you select the image, well, you could either go to the Edit, Move and Rotate command, but using the pet tools, if you select the image and then click on the center, I'm not too sure if it matters, but I'll click on the center grip, and then make sure in your pet tool you've changed to rotate, and then very carefully, when we want to do this quite accurately, very carefully zoom in so that we can pick a nice line through this bottom property line to rotate to. Now I'm going to do this as carefully as I can, so I'm going to go to the top of the blue, and you can see there's different shades of blue. If we go to the lightest one that you can see and click in that top right hand corner of the lightest one you can see, I just want to get this as accurately as we can, something like I'm doing on the screen here at the moment. Now that was my first click, and then I'm going to go to the other end of the property line, once again to the lightest one that I can see, the lightest part of the blue that I can see, and zoom in and get that quite accurate, and click there. Now that will give me a line which is parallel to the center of that blue area, because I've gone from the top edge to the top edge. So if I click on there as the starting point and then zoom back out again, that's given an orientation for the start of the rotation. Now the second click is I just want to bring up until you'll feel that the cursor snaps to a horizontal direction. You actually get a dotted blue line lining up with a horizontal direction, and that will be my second click, and now I've rotated that image such that this line here is horizontal to our project direction. And then once again, if you want, you can click and drag to sort of position this a little bit more evenly in the middle, but doesn't really matter for the moment. Because the next thing we're going to do is we've got some information on this image. We've got the length of the front and side boundaries, and we've also got some latitude and longitude information for the location of the site. I'm pretty sure I picked up that latitude and longitude information off Google Earth. But the next thing we want to do is resize the image so it's running in the correct, it's at the right scale. So 68.05 meters we're looking for that side to be. Now the way to do that would be to go up to the edit menu and come down to, I think, the reshape menu and go down to resize. So edit, reshape, resize, and we're going to make sure you're defining it graphically. So leave define graphically checked and then click OK. Now we want to go, once again, this time I think we will go to, as best we can make out, would be the middle of these two darker blue intersections. So if you have a look on the screen, and it's the tip of your arrow pointer that you're trying to point to. Don't try and go into the middle of the arrow, it's the tip of your arrow that you want to be through the middle of this line and through the middle of that line. So I think as best I can do it would be something like that. And then do that again on the other side of the property. It should be able to line up in a horizontal snapping area, but we want to go to the middle of that dark side of the property coming up there. So that's my second click. Okay. Now my third click to finish off, well, it won't be a click, it'll be type in the distance that we want that to be. Working in millimeters, we want that to be 68050 in millimeters. So I'm typing 68050 and pressing enter. So that will have resized the site plan image to the correct size. And this time I will now click and drag that so that the image is more centered into our blue project area here. That's not too bad. So something like what I've got happening here. Yeah, that's not too bad. It doesn't matter, we can move the elevation markers and everything around later. Okay, so one last thing to do to set up the project information here will be, I'm looking for north. We go project preferences, it'll be options, project preferences probably, set project north. Options, project preferences, set project north. So if you click on that, and if we click on one end of this image down here, we know that this image came off a map that was orientated to north, so this side of the image there should be the direction of north. So if we click on there, we've clicked that point first and that point next, that will now orientate our project so that north is pointing in the correct direction. If you want to double, you don't get an indication of that, but if you did want to double check that, we could put in an object over on the object tool here, and if you click in the settings dialog box up the top here, we'd go looking for a north point. Bring the dialog box onto the screen so you can see what I'm doing here. So I'm probably looking in the ArchiCAD basic library, probably under 2D elements. So if we open up 2D elements, probably graphic symbols I'm thinking, and there is a north symbol. So if you click on that north symbol there, and over in the settings of that particular object, if you just make sure it's got checked follow project north, and then when you click OK to that and place your north arrow somewhere on the page, you'll see that we've set it up so it is following where project north is, and you can see that it is orientated to the side. Move up pet tool, so we can see that it is orientated to the side of that project.